What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on our new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thanks for hitting the like button for us down below. A Phoenix gas station owner is making national news as he is losing hundreds of dollars per day as he is selling gas for 50 cents a gallon cheaper than what he buys it for to help his customers out. That's right, a man named Jaswindri Singh is losing hundreds of dollars per day. He is buying gas from a supplier for reportedly $5.66 per gallon, but is selling it for only $5.19 per gallon. Wow, gas has gotten really expensive. Apparently, really expensive in Arizona, and he's selling it for 50 cents a gallon less. Just because he wants to help people out. He says, I do it to give a break to the customer and my community. Quote, people don't have the money right now. My mother and father did teach us to help. If you have something, you have to share with other people. He could teach our politicians a thing or two, this sack and the gas companies, right? Yeah, this comes as the national average price of gas. Comes as we are over $5 a gallon here on the average. Some places definitely higher. You can see here we're $5.01 a gallon, $5.77 per per gallon for diesel. And this, again, it's just going up every single day. It just continues to go up and up and up. And if you live in California, God bless you, because the price of gas in California on average is $6.43. Remember, the price of gas in the US is $5.01. It's $6.43 on average in California. $6.99 for diesel. And yeah, and we know that some areas in California are much higher than that, in the sevens or even eights, because, well, they're just straight up gouging people. So yeah, and you can see here, U.S. gas prices have soared to $5 a gallon because of bottlenecks and oil refineries, and the crisis is unlikely to end soon. And remember, the U.S. and these oil companies that are raking in billions and billions of dollars have not made a new oil refinery in 50 years. There has not been a new oil refinery produced in the US since the 1970s. And the Chevron CEO says they're not going to make a new one. They don't want to invest the money, even though they're going to invest the money in the highest stock shareholder buybacks ever this year. And their profits are the highest ever this year, ever at, well, it depends on the company, but around 300% higher than last year. Yeah, so when you look at things like what one gas station owner here is doing for his community, and then you look at what else has happened in the world, it's really sad. It also kind of leads me to, you see this headline, and then I also see headlines like this. Putin is preparing, quote, preparing to starve much of the developing world in order to win Russia's war in Ukraine, a Yale historian says. It kind of really shows you the differences in humanity. And Wow. Look at the eyes of that man right there. Ukrainian officials have accused Russia of blocking millions of tons of grain of exports. It's really more of an accusation at this point. I mean, it's happening. I mean, I guess you call it an accusation, but I mean, some people would maybe whatever, but I mean, it's happening. Yale historian Timothy Snyder says Putin plans to starve places in Asia and Africa, really everywhere around the world, because food prices are skyrocketing. So people all around the world are not able to afford food here more and more by the day. To win this war, win is a subjective word there. Quote, when the food riots begin and the starvation spreads, Russian propaganda will blame Ukraine, he says. Yeah, they're already blaming you. They've been blaming Ukraine before the war began. Yale historian Timothy Snyder says Russian President Putin plans to starve some countries as part of his effort in Ukraine. He says, quote, Russia has a hunger plan. Putin is preparing to starve much of the developing world as the next stage in his war in Europe. Snyder, a professor at Yale University and an expert on authoritarianism, began noting the importance of Ukraine's food exports to the global food supply. And even if the US doesn't run out of food or select foods, we're seeing the increase of food prices here in the US and all around the world. US food prices are at the highest they have ever been in the history of ever. And all around the world, food prices are the highest they have ever been. All around the world and in the US. And there looks like there's no sign of stopping. Now, the war is not the only reason this is happening, but it's definitely contributing to it. Gas prices are definitely contributing to it. Gas prices have no sign of stopping. They just continue to go up by the day. Every time I check on gas and oil prices, well, not necessarily oil prices, they're staggering a little bit. They're creeping a little bit, but gas prices going up every single day. And the oil and gas companies, their profits are going up every single day. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, and you can see here the reason for this is the area around the Black Sea, including Ukraine and Russia, has been referred to as the world's breadbasket. You've probably heard this, due to its fertile soil and high rates of grain production. Collectively, the two countries account for 30% of the global wheat exports, and Ukraine alone produces 12% of them. So the U.S. does take in some wheat from Ukraine and collectively. But even if we didn't take in any wheat from either country, it would still raise our prices of wheat and anything that has wheat in it, and some of these other products as well that are coming from these countries and the areas around there, because it's just like gas. Okay, even though we're not buying any gas from Russia, we continue to see the price of gas go up, and the whole world is seeing their gas prices go up as well. Remember that most countries around the world have gas prices much higher than the United States. If you've watched my channel, you've seen things like this. Remember, the average price here for gas around in the U.S. is around $5 a gallon. Here, 5.01 or something like that. Okay. The most recent, this website kind of updates around once a week here for around the globe here. So if anything, these prices are a little low because gas prices are going up here by the day. But most recent gas prices here in the United Kingdom for this website, US dollars per gallon. So this equates it to US dollars and per gallon, as you can see here, because they also have it in liters and, their other local currencies here. In the United Kingdom's $8.34 US dollars per US gallons. So way higher than $5 a gallon. That's for the United Kingdom. Italy, for example, $7.99 a gallon. Canada, our neighbor to the north, 675 US dollars. If you're looking at Canadian dollars, it's 849. Again, much higher than $5, our average here in the US. Hong Kong, $11.21 US dollars. Even Russia, $3.18 US dollars. You might think that's cheap. You might think, oh, Russia is getting cheap gas. But that's not really the case, because when you equate that to the amount, because remember, they make rubles in Russia. That's 196 rubles, or 51 rubles per liter. That's actually what they pay. They buy it in liters over there. And that's actually expensive for the amount of what they make over there in Russia. So gas is not cheap compared to what they make in rubles over there in Russia. The minimum wage in Russia is 13,890 rubles per month, which is about 215 US dollars per month. Per month. Yeah, so you might think that $3 a gallon in gas is cheap for Russia, but not when you realize how much money they're making in return. See, like if even if gas was $1 a gallon, but you're making 50 cents an hour, it's not. You got to kind of compare apples to apples here. Um, yeah. So, I mean, you got to go, you can go back here to the 1970s. Gas could be $1 a gallon, but if you're making 50 cents a gallon, or if you're making 50 cents an hour, I should say, you have to work 2 hours just to get a gallon of gas. So, yeah, this is kind of the problem here. And by no means is this making it any better for Americans, but it wouldn't be any better if our gas was $8 a gallon either. So this is kind of the problem here, is everybody in the world is dealing with this. And how do we get out of this? Well, one, this is a global issue. And other countries like the United Kingdom have actually just passed a windfall tax on their gas and oil companies to the tune of about $19 billion. Okay. And this will actually go directly back to the people. The problem here with the U.S. is that Republicans won't vote for something like this. They tried to pass this in the House, but you see they passed this in the UK, but no Republicans voted yes on this gas price gouging measure. So, it's difficult, sometimes to find compromise here in the U.S. Uh, the big oil has deep pockets, and trying to come to a way to combat against them, you know, yeah, it's a difficult one, at least with Congress. Also, I got an interesting one here that came here. Uh, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, she's been very veto happy. She's a Democrat, and the state legislature is run by Republicans. This kind of shows you that Republicans and Democrats don't get along very often with different ideologies. And the governor vetoes a bill to reduce income tax. She'd rather send out stimulus checks. This is kind of the battles here that a lot of states go through here. Here's the details. Check this out. And here's another headline here. Whitmer vetoes the GOP-led legislature's $2.5 billion tax plan over constitutional issue. Governor Gretchen Whitmer on Friday vetoed the Michigan Republican-controlled legislature's $2.5 billion tax cut plan, arguing that the legislation violated a constitutional clause requiring the content of the bill to match the title. And the legislature used a House bill originally meant to extend a tax filing deadline and changed it to contain a quote, broad change to the tax code. That doesn't match with the bill's original purpose, she said. Quote, the constitutional defects of this hurried process are both glaring and obvious. The legislature bill passed on May 19th, just hours after Whitmer asked legislative leaders to consider sending $500 rebate checks to residents. Both plans continued a months-long tax cut battle between the Republican-led chambers and the Democratic governor over the best way to return surplus taxpayer money to residents. As of May 20th, Michigan's budget surplus for the current fiscal year had grown to $6 billion. And estimates continue to tick up for this year and next as sales and use and income tax revenues grow. As I said, all these states, the revenue continues to grow. Same with the federal government. With Friday's veto, the plan joins other tax relief proposals that suffered similar fates. She's vetoed a couple different things. Whitmer in April vetoed a gas tax suspension plan, in part because it wouldn't have been able to go into effect until 2023. I mean, I can understand that. And in March, the governor vetoed a separate $2.5 billion tax relief plan because she said it would blow a hole in the state budget. I mean, I don't know about that. They have $6 billion in surplus, but I haven't looked into the details of it. Who's Representative Republican who sponsored the most recent legislation had tried to incorporate some of the measures she had requested and said, I don't know if she will ever change her mind and allow hardworking taxpayers to keep more of their money. But I do know House Republicans will continue to fight for tax relief and continue to give her the chance to finally do the right thing. This isn't over. Their plan, the Family Inflation Relief Plan that was vetoed Friday, would have lowered the state's personal income tax from 4.25% to 4% and increased the personal income tax deduction by $1,800 from $4,900 to $6,700. The proposal would also allow taxpayers to claim a $500 per child non-refundable tax credit. That means you have to claim it on your taxes, and if you owe the state, you only get it. It's non-refundable. The bill also supported the governor's priorities by boosting the state's earned income tax credit. So that's for low income adults, also known as the adult tax credit, from 6% to 20% of the federal earned income tax credit, also known as the adult tax credit, and hiking the senior personal tax exemption. So there is some other things in there as well. The plan included a separate bill funding a property tax credit for disabled veterans. That portion of the package was not vetoed, so she vetoed only sections of the package. But her plan is called the Michigan Tax Rebate Now Plan, and she announced the same day that it would provide $500 checks to families. The plan would provide households with an annual gross income of less than $250,000 a $500 rebate check with $100 additional checks for each dependent child. She indicated at the time that she favored her plan over the legislature's because the rebate checks delivered immediate relief and immediate cash. Republicans argued that their plan delivered long-term relief that wouldn't aggravate an economy already inflated by a variety of circumstances. Yeah, so as you can see here, there's sometimes in in Congress, in this case, state Congresses. So remember, there's a lot of states giving money back, whether they're state stimulus checks, tax rebate checks, property tax checks, other things in there. A lot of these, really, there's a lot of these are mini stimulus packages for states. Because when you look at a lot of these packages, there's a lot of things in there. There's um, tax rebate credits. There's property tax credits, which are basically checks. Um, you've seen the other things that were in there, like money for the veterans, money for the elderly, money for the children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? In this case, the governor vetoed it because she prefers, basically stimulus checks, and they're going to have to sit down and compromise. So now, basically, it looks like the Republican legislature just did it without her and said, "Here, sign this." So that's similar to what the House Democrats in the federal government, Nancy Pelosi and them. It looks, from what I can see, it looks like that's what they did with the gun legislation, and they got almost no Republican votes for it. Now Chuck Schumer and the Senate and Senator Cornyn, Republican, they did it the better way, much, much better way. Republicans and Democrats kind of sat down together and were able to get a deal done. If you see my recent video here, deal made. Um, and they actually came and made a deal, got a deal done. I'll link you to that video here next. But they still got to actually sign the bill and get the votes. But they do have a deal. They've announced a deal, so that's important. They just got to close the deal now. So I'll link you to that video next. You can watch it here. Make sure to subscribe down to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on upcoming videos. Click the bell icon after subscribing so you get notifications as soon as we go live with new videos. That's every day here at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to see my new video about the deal that was just made here in the Senate. And you can click here to see my new video about stimulus checks that just came out. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.